Back with Fantasy Author's Handbook, Phil again, finally squeezing in some time to get to that April book haul video that I've been promising. This was a bigger month. I've been talking about having this kind of not, literal no spend year, but sort of a light spend year. And that's been progressing. And that started with me not going obsessively buying books at used bookstores and or eBay. And I have laid off the eBay for the most part, but I haven't been buying big lots of stuff. But in April, we kind of fell off the wagon, kind of went to the used bookstore, bought my one book a week, which we'll see first, hit the library book sale, which we'll see. So this might be like kind of a 3-part thing. Because there's more books, I don't want this to take an hour or 2 hours or however long. I didn't do all the research. We're not going to deep dive into this as the cover artist and biographies of the authors or anything. I'm just going to do this raw, man. I just put them in order of what I bought. It's a lot of different stuff. There's one that just kind of knocked me for a loop. You'll see that. But let's just get into it. First, with the books that I just buy, I, at least religiously, it's literally scheduled, buy a book every Wednesday. It's just something I have decided to do, and I've been doing it for a long time now. And then also, every once in a while, something just kind of compels me to also just buy a book on purpose. In some cases, and I've been doing this recently, is trying to fill in collections. You'll see some of the various collections. Not really collections so much as filling out the whole series of certain things. Okay, so here we go. First purchase in April 2024. Ooh, right? Now look, H.R. Giger, I get it, that you either get it or you don't, right? You're either Giger or you're not. I'm Giger from way back. This is from Taschen, just the publisher for this sort of thing, art books in general, illustrated books. There's the man himself. How beautifully done. And you'll notice that the pages there are covered with this sort of funny wraparound thing that I've literally never seen before. It looks like it might make this awkward to read. It certainly makes it awkward to hold up and flip through the pages, but let's see if we can kind of tuck this back without hurting it and do just a kind of a flip through. This is an art book. This is a collection of Giger paintings, drawings, concept art, etc. You're probably not going to get a great sense of what this looks like. It's his dark, bleak, weird bio-industrial thing. And in typical Taschen fashion, just beautifully presented with a deep understanding of this individual artist's aesthetic. So very, excited to have this as a Giger fan and just as sort of an addition to the collection for somebody interested in fantasy and science fiction art and this kind of outsider art to begin with. And of course, a huge fan of all of the different movies that he has worked on, starting with Alien and etc. Even his album covers, the one that he did for Emerson, Lake and Palmer, which was one of my favorite albums as a kid. I went through this huge Emerson, Lake and Palmer fan when I was 10 because... Right. Anyway, H.R. Giger from Taschen, just fantastic. So happy to have it. Then you heard me mention that I'm also filling out collections. I got the first Brack book, or one of the Brack books, in one of those big eBay random box things. And I was like, how do I not have all this? I'm not just going to read them out of order, obviously. So let's just go ahead and collect them. And in this case, I made the decision to stay with this edition, this trade dress. So I've been filling these in. Brack, versus, I don't even know, Brack versus The Mark of the Demons by John Jakes. Definitely Conan inspired sword and sorcery fantasy. What's not to like? There's the back if you want to freeze on that and read it. It's okay. Nothing fancy, just old school, mass market paperback, sword and sorcery fantasy. It's all love. This edition from 1977. Brack the Barbarian. Outstanding. Ooh. This is a client book. I worked on The Dark One's Hand with A.J. Cooper as an editor, which is what I do for a living. I'm a freelance editor. And if, like AJ, you are looking for somebody to help you with your book, help you with your writing in general, help you with your writing career, etc., I'm not an agent, but I can and will make any book better. It's just what I do for a living. It's what I've been doing for a living for a very long time. So anyway, also let's talk about support for the indie sphere, right? And I've said before that I publish my own books as an independent publisher, right? And I work with independent authors all the time, including A.J. Cooper, right? The Dark One's Hand, terrific fantasy novel. Can't say enough about it. It's not just, oh, he paid Phil to say this. He didn't send this to me for free. I bought it because I do that, right? It's about, being a part of the genre writing community, right? So get this book. Support those indie authors out there. The Dark One's Hand. And if you are looking for an editor, come and find me at AthensAssociates.com and just contact me there and let's just talk about your project, where you are in your career, etc. I can help you. And I am open to new projects now. So I've also talked about how I have this giant Amazon wish list that has been going on for, it seems like it's been going on longer than it has. The oldest books on that list were from 2015. I believe this was one of those early ones that someone must have told me, hey, Phil, this would be good, or you would like this looks, and somehow it passed in front of my attention, and I thought, ooh, that sounds really interesting. Little Big by John Crowley. Is it Crowley or Crowley? No. How did this come to my attention? No idea. No recollection of that at all. It's been on my Amazon list for that long, right? Like 9 years. And finally I was just like, well, again, just like I have done with Freddie's book by John Gardner, just trust Phil from the past. Phil from the past will not steer me wrong. Have you read this? Little Big by John Crowley? Good? Loved it? Liked it? Didn't like it, I guess? I don't know. You know me about negative reviews, like I just don't. But anyway, it's beautiful. I mean, it's beautifully done here. So here it is. I have it. I will read it. It is on the shelf. It will be read. Another series that I'm collecting, Doc Savage, Land of Always Night. What number is this? It's hard for me to see. 13. Number 13. In this Doc Savage series, right, which were coming from Bantam Books in the 70s, they are not in the same order that they were published in the original magazines. So somebody at Bantam made a decision of which order they wanted to go in. Don't know why. But this is a story originally written in the 30s. And this book would be from the early or mid 80s even. Anyway, Doc Savage, I'm collecting the whole thing. They're fun. They provide many examples of what to do in terms of storytelling and maybe what not to do in terms of actual writing. But they're just fun. And who says you can't have fun with series like Doc Savage or Brack the Barbarian? Recommended by somebody on YouTube. I want to say, was it Gronsky? Right? But also, was a fan of his movies back in the day, like my film school days. Werner Herzog, Every Man for Himself, and God Against All, a memoir. Heard that it was just crazy weird because he's crazy weird, and I love crazy weird. I'm crazy weird to some degree or another, yeah. So this one, I think, is going to be on the soon-to-be-read list, right? You're going to see me tackle this one in the very near future. Just one of the most important and strangest kind of outlier filmmakers, and just a character in his own right. Werner Herzog's memoir, Excited. And then last but not least, well, another one of those books that was on the list from way, 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 way back. Again, no reason whatsoever, or no idea, no memory of why I put Circuit of Heaven by Dennis Danvers on my Amazon list. But indeed, here it is. This looks like the first edition hardcover. It looks like this is probably not a book that was super popular. I don't know. It's, first of all, how 90s is that cover? Terrific. And I know nothing about it, which honestly I love. I love that. When, like we saw in the books that I read in April, Lydia Cassatt reading the morning paper, a book that I forgot that I even bought, and had no idea where it came to me, why I picked it out, how it came to me, and I just picked it essentially at random, really at random, from my shelves and just read it and loved it. So I'm expecting the same from this tight little hardcover, yet substantial, right? Small trim size, but lots of pages. Circuit of Heaven science fiction by Dennis Danvers. I don't know. Is this going to be one of my, and this is the hope. You can see the reflection of my window there. This is my hope. With every book that I buy, it's going to be my favorite book of all time. Is it? I have no idea. It doesn't matter. But I never buy a book that I don't intend to read, and I absolutely intend to read Circuit of Heaven. Okay? So next we're going to take a look at just a sort of mini haul that I got from the library book sale. We'll be back for that, and I will reset. Okay. Okay, you know that I love the library, and I go to the library fairly often. And at my public library, and I hope that they do this all over the place, there's sort of a section in the front where it's sort of an ongoing sale that helps support the friends of the library. And then every once in a while they have these big days where they open up as kind of like used bookstore, and it tends to be super mob, and I love that, and I found some crazy great stuff there. But every time I go to the library, I walk up past that wall, and then you scan a little QR code and pay them by Venmo. So these paperbacks are $1 that you're about to see. Somebody donated a whole bunch of Star Trek books. Oh, Star Trek, you say? Yes, I do collect Star Trek books. See them here? Star Trek. Anyway, so I kind of more or less grabbed them all for $1 each, because why would I not? Do I know anything about these books necessarily? I don't think so. Who cares? Here they are. Crossroads by Barbara Hamling. Right? Kirk, Spock, the Enterprise. What else do you need? There's the back if it matters. Glare is an issue. I don't know. I mean, I've read some of these. There was one in particular I don't want to talk about. I read that was a Star Trek novel that just made me so angry that it was a problem. And then I've read some that are like, well, that could have been better written. And then there are some that are just like, that was just great. I mean, like the author just gets it, like they just understood the whole gestalt of Star Trek. And so anyway, I keep reading these, I keep collecting them, buying them, with the hope that we will continue to find more and more really good ones. Is Crossroads one of those? Don't know. Have you read it? Comment below. Next, the new novel, well, whenever that was, by A.C. Crispin, Time for Yesterday. Looks like the Guardian of Forever there, right? From the great Harlan Ellison episode. And Spock in the kind of, movie era uniform. All right. Some ouch damage to the cover that's not good. I can fix that. That can be repaired. I will repair that. It deserves to be repaired because why not? Anyway, Star Trek, Time for Yesterday. And then this one, which looks like it's really new. Great book, great price. Right? Celebrating how many years? 40 years? So that dates this one already. Of Star Trek, Vulcan's Glory by Dorothy Fontana, who was instrumental in the original series and just one of the Star Trek luminaries. Right? So then I brought this home and brought it to my shelf where I have all the Star Trek books, which you can kind of see here. I had it already. Oh no. I had the original in that sort of original printing there, the same book. So, look, I paid $1, no harm, no foul. This will get handed off. I'm going to keep the original one. This will get kind of handed off where it's probably not something that's going to fetch enough money to make it worth selling on eBay by the time they take their cut. And I put all sorts of work into making like 45 cents. It's not something that's going to happen. So what do I do with this? It goes back to a used bookstore. There's a little free library in the park near my house. Actually, it should go there. I just donated a couple books there. So next time I go for a walk in the park, which will probably be this weekend, right? Why not? What if there's a Star Trek fan in the neighborhood who's going to see this and go like, oh, fantastic. And then bring it home and realize, oh no, I already have the old one. And then hopefully it goes back in the little free library and everybody's happy. Next, how many of these did I get? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? 5. Phil be counting. Star Trek. Again, a flag full of stars. You got, Kirk in kind of the, what's that? The motion picture uniform, it looks like. Star Trek, the motion picture. The new school Klingon. And you can't feel this, but I wish you could. Is there a way to kind of, yeah, right? By kind of exposing it to the glare. You'll see that so much effort is put into the emboss on this cover. Money was spent to make this happen. You can feel the Klingons' bumpy forehead ridges. Right there, the tactile quality of that is spectacular. Yeah. The title is embossed, and then their faces. I just can't stop touching it. I'm touching it. By Brad Ferguson. Kind of weird there, didn't it? Sometimes it gets weird between Star Trek and me. Anyway, this looks really great, actually. So, fantastic. Into the Star Trek series rotation it goes. And Star Trek is on my rotation of series that I read. I'm currently working on a Perry Rodan book. Star Trek's going to come up in rotation pretty soon. I might just make sure that I read one of these that I just bought, just to make sure that, I'm not just buying and buying books that go on shelves and sit here for 10 years, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. Anyway, Star Trek The Lost Years. This is kind of a famous one, right? The holy trinity there of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. And, of course, the Enterprise. As much a character as anybody else. J.M. Dillard, right, an author I have heard of note in the Star Trek community. The Lost Years, right? I don't know. This is sort of bridges the gap between, I think, the series and the movies. The missing chapter in Star Trek history revealed at last. Okay. And again, embossing on there. I can feel Spock's face. I'm touching it. Star Trek The Lost Years. Emboss, they just, do they do this anymore? And it's just an extra expense that I just like. It's like they cared enough to emboss the artwork. All right, last one. This one had a special tag on it, which they sometimes do at the library when they know that this is something a little bit more special. I paid $5 for this. Let's get rid of that. And I would have paid more. Don't tell anybody. This is the Starlog photo guidebook, Fantastic Worlds. I have two other ones. I have spaceships and aliens. I should have brought them up, but I was in junior high when I was a Starlog subscriber and just loved it. Oh my God, when that showed up, it was like Starlog Day. Where's Phil? He's in Starlog. Just don't even try. Right? I just loved that magazine as a young sci-fi fantasy fan of books, movies, etc. I just loved it. And so finding one of these in such essentially pristine condition, I mean, there's nothing broken about it. Somebody bought this and loved it enough to take care of it. I will do the same. And basically, they're pretty cheap. They're pretty cheesy. You can see that it's very flimsy construction here. Essentially printed like a magazine by a magazine publisher. Zardoz. Why not? And then just kind of a lot of black and white photos set up almost like a encyclopedia, right? Focusing on movies. And it is a lot of black and white, but not only black and white. There is color in here as well. But here we go, right? Some color. Pages. 2001: A Space Odyssey, of course. And just, I don't know. It's just, is it perfect or is it super authoritative? It's obviously of its time, right? So it's not, it doesn't really tell you anything new. Look at that. Star Trek, the animated series. A much maligned show that I think everyone should pay attention to. Some cool concept art. That's how far back this goes. Right? From Star Wars. I don't know. I just love these. It's just an artifact of science fiction fandom of my youth. And there is no way I see this anywhere and don't buy it. This was just exciting. The Star Trek books, always love a Star Trek book. Those can be found at any used bookstore for, basically the $1 that I paid for them. There's nothing rare or, particularly collectible about that. Is this rare? I think it is. Is it collectible? I think only for a certain kind of, we'll say, more mature science fiction fan. I don't know. Am I just approaching age 60 and I'm buying back my childhood? Yeah, man. Okay. Talk to me when you're 60 and tell me you're not doing the same thing. Starlog photo guidebook to Fantastic Worlds. Fantastic to have this in my world. Okay, then April 2024 book haul, part 3. This was a trip to the used bookstore. I'm going to save the best for last. Let's dive into stuff, right? So starting with, which you've already seen with Brack, the Barbarian, and Doc Savage. I'm filling out series that I just want to have the whole series because, right, if you don't understand why you have to have the whole series, then you're never going to understand any explanation I might give you for why you have to have the whole series, but you got to have the whole series. Anyway, because I had had bought in these random boxes some series, and also in another case that we'll see now, just have always wanted to read it, and I'm a fan of the author. I'm actually a fan of both of these authors, but let's start with Isaac Asimov and this Elijah Bailey and R. Daniel Olivaw series. This is the last one that I needed here, The Robots of Dawn. Again, these are not, there's that embossing again. Oh, everything is very tactile and touchy on this one. We're going to touch everything. That's a little bit weird, right? The kind of sexy robot, but whatever. These are not hard to find. Obviously, these were very successful, mass market releases in their day, printed by the zillion, sold to everybody. So it wasn't hard for me to end up finishing out the series after getting like the first one. I didn't have to spend money on eBay or anything like that, but there it is. So that series now complete, and I can dive into that when I am ready. Isaac Asimov, what can you say? Speaking of authors where it's what can you say, it's rare that you find these, and so when I found this, it's in a bag. I just had to buy it. This is Return to Tomorrow, an Ace original by L. Ron Hubbard. It's very rare to see his older pulp, sci-fi, western, etc. work out there. I don't know if that was, I'm not going to say it was suppressed by Scientology or anything like that. I don't know what Scientology's doing. I think I'm a suppressive person anyway. Should I tell the story about Scientology? Am I going to get in trouble if I tell the story about Phil versus Scientology, but not really? Anyway, I would buy this little Ace sci-fi book no matter who wrote it. But I'm obviously really curious just to read something by L. Ron Hubbard, I'm currently reading a biography of him. I find him fascinating as this kind of strange, it's unfair, or is it to call him, I don't think it's unfair to call him some kind of like supervillain almost. Am I getting into this? I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to tell the Scientology story. Should I tell the Scientology story? I'll tell a short version of the Scientology story. I'm not a Scientologist. I respect the First Amendment anyway, so I'm not saying that, right? I'm fascinated by that religion cult. Why is that? I mean, maybe it's because I feel like I might have gotten into that. Like, at a certain point in my life, if I had really sort of, done come in for the free testing or whatever, if I had done that, I might have actually, because it feels like science, or it's presented as a kind of science, as opposed to, whatever, David Koresh is Jesus. Isn't this not going to capture me at all? But, so I don't know. I've always found I've really found it very interesting, but never really paid it a lot of mind until I saw the documentary on HBO, Going Clear, and then it was like I needed to know more about this. And just kind of went into this sort of obsessive thing. This is after my sort of run-in with Scientology. So for years and years, I've heard of the L. Ron Hubbard Writers of the Future Award, right? Because before he became the leader of this kind of global church, he was a science fiction author. Not exclusively, right? He wrote basically anything that the pulps wanted, mysteries and a lot of westerns and stuff. And there was this award for newly published, like for the first time science fiction authors. It was fairly prestigious. I would hear about it all the time. Oh, so-and-so won the Writers of the Future Award. And when I was working on stuff for Writer's Digest, they had invited either him or someone from Writer's Digest to present in some way an award or the award at the Writers of the Future ceremony, which I think was in LA. And he couldn't do it for some reason, and he said, hey, would you be interested in doing this? They'll like fly you to LA, and but you'll have to rent a tux or whatever. And I was like, that sounds like something that would be really cool, like to be a part of the sci-fi community. At this point I wasn't connecting this to Scientology and what that meant. I didn't really know anything about it. And so I said, sure. And so he communicated with them. They communicated back to me and said, oh, this is really great that you're going to be here and do this. So I was all ready to kind of do that. It was months out. And then all of a sudden I get an email saying, you're out. We don't want you. Why would we ever have somebody here to present an award who has insulted L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology in a book? And that book was How to Start Your Own Religion, which I kind of co-wrote with somebody, an kind of uncredited co-author or whatever. And I was kind of like, did I say anything? I don't, nowhere is L. Ron Hubbard mentioned in that book, although Tom Cruise was. So apparently they read that and were kind of like, he's making fun of Tom Cruise. And I kind of was. I was making fun of everybody. And so I was dropped as a presenter of the Writers of the Future Award. This is all like 10 years ago more, 15 years ago. So does that make me a suppressive person? I don't know. Does owning this book make me a suppressive person? I don't know. Does talking about Scientology on YouTube and not, in glowing terms and talking about it using the C word, cult, and the reading the unauthorized biography of L. Ron Hubbard make me a suppressive person? I don't know. Hey man, I've been called worse. Anyway, here's the cool thing is that if I decide to cut that out, you'll just have never known all about that whole L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology and Phil story. Do I care? Anyway, so back to the series. Because I have on my phone, just on the notes on my phone, the list of series books that I still need. And, I was in the used bookstore. Robots of Dawn was on that list. That's been crossed off. So were all of the other Pip and Flinks novels, which I think you can maybe see here. No, they're off camera. Or kind of right there. Anyway, collecting and reading the entire, I've read the first two, and they are in that series cycle. The Pip and Flinks series by Alan Dean Foster. I'm a big Alan Dean Foster fan, so I don't think these are in any particular order, right? But I crossed off in one trip to the used bookstore. Again, these aren't just like rare things, right? So you can generally find them just kind of out there in the wild, not for a lot of money, whatever. Which is really a fun way to collect the series. You don't have to, like I ended up with, I don't have the last 4 of the Tom Swift books, and I've seen them for like $200. It was crazy. So anyway, the accessible, readable, really, really terrific Pip and Flinks series continues. This is Alan Dean Foster. Yeah. Exceptions to reality. This is actually a short story collection, and in here is one story in that series, and you can see Pip and Flinks there on the cover, right? So when I collect the series, I'm collecting the short stories too, because I'm just collecting all of it. And then they also had a copy of Flinks Folly, which you'll see at this point, right? It is a Pip and Flinks Adventure, big bold letters. This is a series that people were buying and reading, and should still be buying and reading, and I'm still buying and reading them, right? This book looks like it's brand new. Look at this. Perfect spine, pages, no discoloration of any kind. I think someone just sort of transferred this over to the used bookstore without reading it. Del Rey. Beautiful. Flinks Folly. Also, right, with that same series, trade dress. Oh, reflection problems. Patrimony by Alan Dean Foster, a Pip and Flinks Adventure. Write the word adventure after your character name, and I'm in for the series. A sci-fi adventure? Done. Right? And the third one, another Pip and Flinks adventure. What is this? Running from the deity? Literal, right? I love the literal cover art. They're running from something, that's for sure. Just love these books. It's just old school, fun, space opera, adventure, right? Action adventure stuff. You can't go wrong. Alan Dean Foster is just one of the great storytellers. Hyper accessible, just a joy to read. He's not going to necessarily challenge you or change your philosophical worldview. Like, I don't know, that L. Ron Hubbard book might just completely convert me. I don't know. Foster's not trying to do that. It's just a really fun story, really, really well told. Right? Kind of cutting in here because first this was sort of sitting separate and I forgot and progressed through the entire book haul video and forgot to show this one. And this one's really exciting. So I'm ditching in before the reveal of the big one that really blew my mind that I found at the used bookstore this April. This one, Isaac Asimov presents the golden years of science fiction. Sixth series? It's impossible for a human being to say the word sixth. But there it is. Edited by Isaac Asimov and, of course, Martin Greenberg. Hardcover edition. Heavy, right? Heavy book. Just chock full of old sci-fi. And we've got, all the usual suspects in here. John D. MacDonald, which is cool. We'll be talking about a book that I just finished reading by John D. MacDonald in next month's Books Read video. But, again, a lot of our favorites here. Lewis Pageant, there's Clifford Simak, there's Arthur C. Clarke, Cyril Kornbluth. Oh, it goes on and on, right? Another MacDonald story. It's just multiple pages of contents. A.E. Van Vogt, Alfred Bester, Henry Kuttner, Eric Frank Russell, Ray Bradbury, of course, Cordwainer Smith. Damon Knight. I'm not even reading all of these. It's crazy, right? Huge, giant book. Nice, really nice shape. Don't even know what year it's from. It doesn't have a barcode, so it has an ISBN, but not a barcode, so it's relatively oldish. Published by Bonanza Books, Crown Publishers. What a bonanza. It's a bonanza of old sci-fi stories, and why would that ever be bad? Copyright, what is this? I can't see it, but I think this is sort of a reissue of this older book. I don't care. $3? Stop it. Stop it right now. You're not going to buy this for $3? This giant, heavy, chunky book full of great old science fiction stories by the great old science fiction authors. $3. Heck yeah. Isaac Asimov presents the golden years of science fiction. Am I going to try to find the first 5 of these and however many? No. We'll just be satisfied with a really groovy collection or a really groovy anthology of Golden Age sci-fi. Hooray. Almost there. Okay, last one. This is the nerd moment that you have when you're a nerd like me. So when I was a kid, when did this book come out? Because I got it from the table at some bookstore, like in the mall. So it would have been like B. Dalton or something like that. This is the first paperback printing, 1975. So Phil was probably 10, right? I turned 11 in September of 1975 when my parents bought for me this copy of Son of Origin of Marvel Comics by Stan Lee. I had heard of, because of course Marvel Comics and Stan Lee were great at self-promotion, and I was reading those comics religiously, especially Fantastic Four at the time. I knew about Origins of Marvel Comics. I couldn't get it. I couldn't find it. No one would buy it for me. I was always poor as a kid. Or just, whatever. I just didn't get money. I didn't have my own money to spend on my own stuff. But that's a sob story for another time. But anyway, got this. It was bought for me. I have kept this in my possession. It has some signs of wear and tear when maybe I wasn't, as a young boy, as careful with stuff as I should have been, but this is mine. I'll cover up the old phone number, even though obviously this is not a phone number that is anything in existence, but look at, right? This book belongs to me, and it has belonged to me for 49 years. Right. And in the meantime, I've seen Origins of Marvel Comics, the original one, or the first one, out there in the world at conventions and stuff like that, sometimes for prices that I just kind of cringed at and I couldn't do it. And I never really prioritized it as something that I definitely needed to have. It is something I've needed to have, but I just was like, can I justify paying what they want for it and all that kind of stuff? So I never got it. I always wanted it. I never got it. And so I'm at the used bookstore, dutifully buying for very little money my series, Alan Dean Foster books, running across the L. Ron Hubbard book, which was cool. And then there it was. Origins of Marvel Comics and Son of Origin of Marvel Comics in a slipcase edition. Can you hear the garbage trucks outside because the window is open? Probably doesn't matter. We're going to keep going. Some fading on the edge here. Obviously, somebody had it on their shelf going this way out, which is good because it protected the books, because look at how good the books look, right? Terrific. So in here is the original Origins of Marvel Comics, which was their main stable of superheroes at the time, right? Who was really selling Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, right? Hulk, Thor, Doctor Strange, Submariner. It's in great shape. It's in better shape than my Son of Origins. It is a 5th printing, right? 1974. So it's not the first printing. It's not like the mega super collectible thing or whatever, but it starts with my favorite comic book series of all time, Fantastic Four. And it's finally mine. I finally have it. I will finally read it. I will finally own it. And I also have now a second copy of Son of Origins, which is not beat up, but it also doesn't have my name written on it. It is not probably a first printing, no. This is the second printing. Yeah. Beautiful. I mean, the slipcase kept them in fantastic condition. So here's what I'm going to do, if you're ready for this. And I think you either get it on this one or you don't. I'm going to take my copy of Son of Origins of Marvel Comics, which is not in as good condition, but it is the first printing. It has my name written on it from almost 50 years ago. This has moved with me from place to place. It has never left my collection. I never considered that it would ever leave my collection for longer than probably most people watching this video have even been alive. And I'm keeping this one in the slipcase with Origins, and I'm just going to do that hybrid thing. There's no way I'm getting rid of this. There's no way I'm getting rid of this. Ever. Yeah? So I'm going to put that back in the slipcase with my seemingly brand new, just in gorgeous condition, Origins of Marvel Comics. Later printing, though, it may be. Let's please not actually wound these books in any way, putting them back in. And so now this is where these two books belong together. My original this one. Origins and Son of Origins of Marvel Comics in the slipcase. I'm keeping mine. This one will go up on eBay. Look for that soon at my eBay store. All right. That was the find. I mean, this was the one. I said, oh, am I buying back my childhood with this Starlog book? And then I find this Origins of Marvel Comics slipcase thing, and childhood repurchased. That was the book haul, April 2024. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching. I will see you again soon here at Fantasy Authors Handbook on YouTube and on the blog every Tuesday. Thanks, everybody.